All right, hey guys, hey everyone. Today we are going to be doing the Bluetooth app rundown specifically for Android, but if you have Apple, I'm sure you can follow along pretty closely. The app is a third-party app. It's built by the BMS manufacturer, JiaBaida. I think I'm saying that correctly. JiaBaida is the company. This is the BMS that's inside of our batteries. You can see it's negatives in, negatives out, and then there's a temp probe on the side. For the front, you'll have the leads going to the battery terminals, and then a UART connector, which is we have connected to a Bluetooth module with a power on-off switch up here. Go ahead and turn that on. So that JiaBaida app, it's third party. Everything in the firmware is says reBel batteries or our branding inside of that. But full disclosure, yes, it's a JiaBaida 4S 100 amp BMS. And we'll go ahead and pull up the app at this time. So I'm going to go ahead and open the admin version of the app, and I'm already logged into it with the password and everything. The first time you log in, it's going to ask for a password. And then on subsequent connections, it'll just throw you straight into the app. So the difference between the admin version and the consumer version is that the admin version allows you to change all the parameters. So we'll have this list on the website, but there's probably 2, maybe 3 dozen different parameters that you can change, from over voltage, under voltage, low temp, high temp, all that. We'll go through that here shortly, but so we'll go through the admin version of the app, then I'll go through the consumer version and just point out the differences between the two. If you go to the link on top of our battery through the QR code, that will give you the consumer version. If you want the admin version, just shoot us an email at support and we'll give you the link to it. Or you can find it on your own. Just look up the JiaBaida like admin app, do a Google search for that, and you'll run across that as well. You have to download that one as an APK, and you have to install it, and there's a couple of extra steps to take, but that's because we don't want people changing parameters in here unnecessarily that they're not sure what they're doing. So we'll give you a little more guidance with that. Anyway, onto the admin version of the app here. You can see on the main screen here, and let me real quick, we have a Hall effect sensor hooked up to our battery here. We have a 1500 watt Krieger inverter. You've seen this in our other videos. We're going to power that on, and on the app you should be seeing, yep, -1 amp, which means it's drawing 1 amp just being powered on. If we put a heat gun on, you can see it'll jump up there. 21 amps is what it's pulling now. So we can crank that up, go all the way high. You can see 40 amps being pulled. So we'll go ahead and kill that. Just wanted to show that it actually shows up on the app. You can see your current, the amount of current that's currently being pulled, and if you get this calibrated and everything's working right, you'll get some other readings there. But yeah, so walking through, you can see the current temperature is 27.5, and that's currently hooked up to the 1 probe. So I showed you in here, that's going to be this probe here, the one that's going to be on the side of the batteries, and then there's an internal temperature probe as well on the BMS board itself, and that I'll show you that one in just a minute. But the temperature you see here is actually on the battery itself, not the BMS. The little meter you can see there is showing about 58% charge right now. That's pretty accurate usually with the state of charge on here. And yeah, it's just kind of a quick visual graphic representation of how much power is left in the battery. And then the lock, so it's unlocked right now, and this is a feature where I'll show you here. So we go full, let's go put some power on it. You'll see the amperage going here, and if you click the lock button, it kills the battery, kills everything on here. So you can't even do the power button on the front here. With the app, it's a little bit quirky in that you're going to have to clear the app and pull it up again to be able to hit the lock again. For some reason with the app on this Android, on this phone, it will not allow me to unlock it again from there. You got to pull the app up again. Now you see it's actually locked, and I unlock it, and you can see the Hall effect just came back on. That lit up, and we can pull this back on now. But you can see the lock still shows locked. I would have to clear the app again in order to see it unlocked, and I can't do anything else here. It just says there's an error. So it's a quirk with the app, but that's how you kind of get around it. You just swipe it, you close the app, and then reopen it, and you'll be back in business. On the bottom there, you can see 2 rows of information, your remaining amp hours, total voltage, the range, which you can click on, and that will give you an individual cell voltage, so you can actually see the cells themselves. And since the app has been pulled up, you can click on the cells themselves and see an actual charting of the data. So going back, again, you can click on any of those and this will update. You'll watch, maybe we'll see one flash here. If they're far out of balance, you'll see them flashing frequently. I don't see, they're not very far out of balance, so they're not going to flash much right now. But that brings us to the next one, the voltage differential. You can see right now they're 0.005 volts out of balance across all 4 batteries, which is really, really good. And if you click on that bottom left little graph icon, you can see your uniformity score and basically how well the cells are doing across the spectrum there. So we'll go back, and then on the bottom right, you can see there is a log basically of since you've been logged into the app, the app has been logging all of the things that are going on inside of there. It's all being stored inside of the app. So if you turn the app off and a bunch of stuff happens, it's not going to be logging it. But this will also log things like under voltage, over voltage, low cutoff type stuff, all of those different parameters that you have in there. It will log all of that in here. So kind of a neat thing to have. But the capability is there if somebody wanted to go ahead and expand on that capability, the Bluetooth capability for logging purposes, or making a this and that type situation where you could actually turn the battery off with an Arduino or a Raspberry. But that's way outside the scope of this video. Just wanted to mention that it's there. Batteries. So we'll go next. We'll go into battery state. This has 3 pages if you swipe right. 3 pages of information. Basic information, it's just basically, you can see there, it's a readout, temp 1, temp 2, I explained what temp 1 is, temp 2 is the actual BMS. You can see the data manufacturer, how many times it's been cycled, percentage, what's left there, version, over voltage, and this will give you whether or not it's current, this is the current state, so whether or not it's currently in one of these states, which you can see it's not. So then you swipe right twice, and you can see how many times it's been through each of those states, like how many times it's been overvolted, how many times it's been discharged over temp, stuff like that. So it keeps a running count, and that is actually stored on the BMS itself. That is not in the app. That is physically stored on the BMS, so that's good to have. Going down, parameter view. So this is going to be specific to the admin version, where you can actually change all of these. So if you see it counting up like this, instead of just loading parameters, if it's counting up like that, that's how you know you're in the admin app, and you can actually change any of these. So let's say we wanted to change the pack over voltage temperature. So we wanted to, say we didn't want to charge the battery up to 14.6 anymore, we just want to charge it up to 14 volts. So we just confirm that and set up success. That's all you got to do. So, and then we would also have to change the over voltage release, which we could change that to 13.8. So now what that's going to do is when the pack hits 14 volts, it's going to turn itself off for charging. It's not going to allow any more charging to occur until it gets to 13.8 volts for at least, and you can see that next parameter, the delay, for at least 2 seconds. So it has to drop below 13.8 volts for at least 2 seconds, and then it will allow itself to be charged again. So you can tweak that to however you want, really. If you want to keep it at 14.6 and 14, you can. If you wanted to say, well, I don't want to, I think it would be better to save my battery's life to be able to go no more than 13.5, then you could do that. Totally within the realm of reason with this app. There's a lot of options that you can do with this, and all of these, even like the charge over current. Say you don't want to have it, you don't want it to be able to charge over 110 amps. Say you want to limit it to 80. Say you want to limit it, here, we'll even do an example here. Watch this. So we'll go down to discharge over current, and we can change this to say 10 amps, minus 10. So if it draws 10 amps for greater than 10 seconds, we will turn it off for 10 seconds. Confirm. That's it. That's all you got to do to change those settings around. So now let's pull up greater than 10 amps. We're pulling 21 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi, 6 Mississippi, 7 Mississippi, 8 Mississippi, 9 Mississippi, 10. There it goes. Everything cuts off. This goes like that, and it cut off. So we wait 10 seconds. 3 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi, 6 Mississippi, 7 Mississippi, 8 Mississippi. Boom. It came back on about 10 seconds. So that's exactly what we just told it to do. You went over 10 amps for greater than 10 seconds, turn yourself off. So that's a perfect example of how you could dial it back down. Perhaps you have a piece of equipment that you don't want to draw over 10 amps, and if it does, you want it to shut down. So there's very specific use cases for stuff like that, but let's go ahead and change that back before I forget and ship this off to somebody. See, 110, and we change this back to 32 seconds. And I'll double check all this later. And there's also a way to quick set this stuff. So we'll move on to the next screen now. We'll go on to parameter settings. In the admin app, you have some default stuff here at the top that you can set it to for different parameters. Again, this was a kind of a generic app, third-party app made for multiple BMSs. So you can set different parameters up here. What we're going to want is LiFePO normal. But if you wanted to go LiFePO 4 light or lithium iron phosphate light, it kind of goes into a more conservative numbers, but we're going to keep it in normal. So even if you change all that stuff before, you can change it back to normal through here with just a quick setting, and you're back in business. So that's really it for here. I'll show you the difference between that on the other app, the consumer version of the app, here in a second. But let's see, moving on to function setting, you can see basically just switches to turn stuff on and off. That's pretty self-explanatory there. What do we just do? So going into app setting here, we can see basically it's just device model, dash type, driving mode or monitoring mode. So you can switch between driving mode, which is what it was in default, to monitoring mode. And then you go back to dashboard and you can see it just basically changes a couple of small things on there. Nothing really major there, just a different way to view the data. So we go back into here, go back to driving. So this app, if you go back to the dashboard, is also kind of designed for e-bikes or scooters, so that when you get somewhere, the lock button is a thing that you can lock it with. You can also hook a GPS up to the board. We don't have the connectors on our boards for that, but it is there is a way you can solder them to there, and you can set it up way outside the scope of this video. But that's what the outer ring on here is for. That outer ring is for speed, from what I've read and what I've found doing a little bit of research on this, is that's your speed on your bike. And then when you get to where you're at, you can hit that lock button, you kill the battery on your scooter, and that's, and if that's what you're trying to do, if you're trying to make a bike or a scooter or something out of this, that's an extra benefit, that you can just, you get to where you're going and you can lock the battery from even operating, as we showed a minute ago. Other than that, that's about it for this app. I think I covered everything on it. And so now we'll go ahead and swipe up. We'll get rid of that app and we'll open up the consumer version, and I'll just quickly go over what the differences are with the consumer version. So let's see, we're should log in. Yep, logged in automatically. We're still seeing our current is there. You can see all the stuff at the bottom is kind of gone. Not a big deal. You can still get your uniformity score. You can still get the information on here. And like I said, we had more things in here on the other app, because that app was open and logging more things as we were doing it before. So again, this version, this part of the app only stores stuff that happens when the app is open. It's not downloading information from the BMS. It's just logging it as the app is open and connected. Let's see, we can go. So another big difference was the parameter view, which I mentioned. So this one just says parameters loading. The admin version had it saying 1 through 52, and it was chucking along there, and you knew where they were loading. So now you get into the consumer version of the app, and you can't change any of this stuff. I can tap all over these; they won't open. It's just informational purposes only. So going back to the next one, parameter settings. If you remember on the other app, we had those 4 quick things at the top that we could change. You can't do that here. There are some things you can change on here. A few, but not nearly as many options as you had on the other one. So yeah, you can basically see what's available here. Anyway, go back to, I think that was all of the differences here. Yeah, that's basically it. So, and anyway, that's the gist of it. I just wanted to show that. I've been promising some people that I would do a walkthrough on the battery and show people exactly how the app interfaces with the battery. And so that's basically it. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. And if you want to see more stuff like this, we've got a lot of videos coming down the pipe. I think we've got 5 already uploaded. Click the subscribe button and bell icon so you get notified when we upload new videos. And yeah, we appreciate you watching. If you got any questions, post them in the comments below. If you got anything you want to see, you want us to do, go ahead and post that in the comments below, and if we can, we'll definitely do it. And yeah, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.